What is up, YouTube? I have Jack Bushman from Locked On Blackhawks, as well as you are on Talking Hockey. So, can you tell me a little bit about how both of those started in your journey? And then I'll get into the Blackhawks because we have a load of things to talk about.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So I grew up fortunately during the Blackhawks dynasty eras. Fell in love with the team when young Jonathan Toews, Patrick Kane, Duncan Keith, and Brent Seabrook, Duncan Keith, now first ballot Hall of Famer, I should say, when they were all stepping onto the scene. And I still remember going to my first Blackhawks game. It was against the St. Louis Blues in 2007. James Wisniewski scored a game-tying goal in like the final minute of regulation. I remember there were people at the United Center leaving for the exits, and then they had to turn back around, get back into their seats, and then my guy, Patrick Kane, as a rookie, wound up scoring the overtime winner. And I just fell in love with hockey immediately. First time at the UC. And then it was fun to, grow my fandom as the Blackhawks were growing as a team once again. So I was in high school and, growing up with all my friends, we'd play hockey, we'd play roller hockey during the summer, ice hockey in the winter. And we all really bonded and our friendship grew watching the Blackhawks every single night in those long summer Stanley Cup runs. We'd watch a ton of games together. So I went into college and the only thing I really wanted to do was pursue sports. It was the only thing I really loved. And I was trying to kind of find ways to go about it and find a unique way to kind of give some of my perspectives as, I'd watched the Blackhawks for over a decade at that point in time and felt like I had a good mentality of the team and what they were trying to do. So I was just kind of trying to find a different way to get my thoughts out into the internet. And one year when I was in college, I just decided to start an account called Talking Hockey. And I feel very fortunate that like 19, 20-year-old me was able to come up with a little bit of a catchy name because I've gotten some compliments on it over the years. But yeah, it was cool to kind of build that up when I was chasing this career. And I remember being excited about getting like a couple of hundred followers and everything. So it's been super awesome to see it grow into what it is now. And then I was fortunate enough while I was doing just mainly my Talking Hockey coverage, when the Blackhawks development camps a couple of years ago, Anthony, used to be on ice and you used to be able to go down to Fifth Third Arena in the summer and get a look at some of these kids that the Blackhawks literally just drafted. I understand why they went off ice, but part of me is a little bit disappointed that we don't get those opportunities anymore. But while I was there, I just ran into someone you recently interviewed, host of the CHGO Blackhawks podcast, Jay Zawaski. And at the time, he was actually the host of Locked On Blackhawks. And we just chatted it up for about 20, 25 minutes. First time I had ever met him. And a couple of months later, he mentioned to me that he was going through kind of some career changes. This was prior to CHGO being a thing as a company. And he mentioned that he was going to be stepping away from Locked On Blackhawks. And I was fortunate enough that he recommended me to the network to take over for him. So yeah, it's been a couple of crazy, fortunate instances. Super grateful for Jay and everything that he did for me, giving me this platform to, again, continue to grow my career and my passion and everything. So it's been a super fun ride. I wish the Blackhawks, have been better these last couple of seasons since taking over the show, but hopefully that's going to be happening in these next couple of years, Anthony.
Wow, what a story and what a guy, Jay. I
I
mean, shout
know.
out. He's awesome. He is awesome.
Truly the man.
Yeah, he really is. How can I ask like how old are you? Because I'm 26 and I feel like based on the stories we were doing the exact same things during this exact same time.
Yeah, I am 28. I look like I'm about 13 years old. I get ID'd every single place that I go to, even like the hometown bars that I've been going to since I was a kid. I'm like, you guys have known me since I was 9. I'm getting
Yeah.
close to 30 here. I don't look anything like it. But yeah, believe it or not, I am 28 years young, I like to say at this point of my life.
Oh yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome. I'm turning 27 on July 10th, so I'm almost there. But I've been
Man,
watching you for years, dude. So, like your voice was just iconic to me. Whenever I heard it in the background, I was like, "Oh, that's Jack." So it's cool to have you on, and it's cool that we're both talking, both in the same space now with Hawks. I mean, it's a good time for me. It's probably not a good time for other creators because I'm the prospect guy, and I So there's not really a rush for me to be like, okay, the Hawks need to be a dynasty because I can see the light at the end of the tunnel, especially with that third overall pick. And there's a lot of talk that, maybe even Misa could be there. Do you see a scenario where the Blackhawks will run to their phones to select Misa after the Sharks could potentially take Frondell?
Well, first, let me just say, Anthony, it is an honor to be here on the show. It has been super cool to see you grow in your channel and everything. So thank you so much for having me on the show. I know we've been talking off behind the scenes these last couple of months to work something out. And as I told you before recording, I feel pretty fortunate that this is the last show that you're going to be doing before heading out west to the NHL draft. So I kind of get your final thoughts, hopes, and expectations for everything that's about to ensue over these next couple of days. But as far as the Michael Misa debate goes, man, I feel like we're being duped a little bit. I feel like my hopes are getting risen for for it not to happen. I think it would be absolutely crazy for Michael Misa to not be the first forward off of the board in this year's draft class. I'm going to keep my fingers crossed that it's going to happen, but I don't see a world in which you pass on him at number 2 overall if you're the San Jose Sharks, especially with the amount of talent and how he would fit with that group. Like, Michael Misa should be the pick at number 2 to San Jose, and I think it's all kind of a smokescreen right now, what we've been hearing recently. What do you think, Anthony?
You know, I don't want to say too much until the draft because there was something that happened. I had a lot set up and to do after the draft because I'm always trying to think like, what could I possibly do to make a show better than having Jay Zawoski on it? So I was like, I had emailed a couple people and I was going to have somebody from Anton Frondell's team to come on, and it was going to be a great interview. Then the last week, they kind of pumped the brakes on it. And I was so confused. And they were like, you can for sure do it if the Blackhawks select Frondell, but let's wait. And now I'm like, this was this morning because I heard radio silence, and I was supposed to interview somebody that had Blackhawks presence, obviously, blah blah blah. And I am now switching that I think we're going to get Misa. And to be honest, for the content purposes, it might be easier to get Anton Frendel on the show and all of this stuff. Like I know his people. I think for the Blackhawks purposes, and nothing against Anton, I think getting Michael Misa at 3 would be the steal of a century. I think that this guy compares himself to, players like Kucherov, Kirill Kaprizov, Sidney Crosby, Patrice Bergeron, full 200-foot game, incredible offensive production in the O this year. I get goosebumps just thinking about a line that could potentially have Connor Bedard and Michael Misa on it. I don't care who's centering it. It doesn't even matter. Just get that line here. And even if they're on different lines, it worked with Kane and Tays, and I feel like those guys are pretty good players if you have ever watched. So now it's like, oh my God. And also, Michael Misa's odds to the Sharks went from minus 5,000 to I think minus 235 right now. I am freaking out because there's something telling me I think we got Michael Misa. Michael Misa told somebody at the combine, which he didn't tell me. I wish he did. I mean, I was standing right next to him, but he told somebody that he doesn't think the Sharks are going to take him. That's just crazy. Like
I did see that
yeah,
on social media yesterday, and that is a
Scott
really
Wheeler.
yeah, that is a
Yeah.
really interesting development from your perspective as well, kind of what's been going on with Anton Frondell's camp. The way that I worded it on my show yesterday, Anthony, was if Michael Misa falls number 3 to the Blackhawks, I think I'll be more giddy about that than I was about getting Connor Bedard number 1 overall. And the reasoning for that, let me pump the brakes real quick. The reasoning for that is obviously the mentality going into the draft, right? Because
Yeah. Yeah.
2023, we won the lottery. We knew it was going to be Bedard. Don't get me wrong. I was absolutely stoked, fist pumping, running on my deck. Like, I was ecstatic. But the surprise of Michael Misa falling to number 3, like, I would absolutely freak out, Anthony. And man, I really hope there's some truth to everything that we've been hearing because the San Jose Sharks do wind up taking Anton Frondell over Michael Misa. There's going to be a lot of happy Blackhawks fans in Chicago.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, Frondell is a great player. Don't get me wrong. I think that this guy is becoming extremely underrated. I think he has the second best shot in the entire class. It's very heavy. If you watched anything I'm doing, anybody that's watching, you know that I think his transition game is only going to get better going to the American rink size, which is a lot smaller than the SHL. And I also think that he's also more of a power forward than any player at the top. And you have like players like Roger McQueen, who's 6'5", Lyndon Lakovich, 6'4", Porter Martone, 6'3". This guy's doing it at 6'1". He just kind of has that grit to him. Very hard worker, but Michael Misa screams superstar, like
Yes.
screams like not generational because everyone is generational right now. If you look at the next five classes, it was or go from Bedard, Celebrini, and then Space. If Schaefer is one, he is one, and then McKenna and DuPont. I think there's four generational talents, and I totally get that. It's like there's like four generational talents in the league. But what Gavin McKenna is doing right now and Landon DuPont at 15, they probably are generational at their position. So it's not like me and Connor Bedard's hype was absolutely incredible. Celebrini didn't have that hype, but he also is now getting regarded as the best player under 23 in the NHL. So like you know, when is it going to stop? That's why this draft class I think was a little less hyped than usual because of all these incredible players coming in. Michael Misa put up production numbers that we haven't seen in years. And we're not even talking about like him being anything close to these other guys. He has what it takes to be a superstar. He's exactly what the Blackhawks need. And I will say this because if the Sharks are even thinking about taking Frondell, you know Kyle Davidson knows that, and you know he's going to offer him something to entice him. Mike Greer said yesterday on that live stream from Shang, who bought my alcohol at the Combine. Thank you, Shang. He said, I think, or he said, at this time, we are making the pick. Or like, as of now, we are making the pick. And the as of now part is like freaking me out because, like, what does that mean? Like, you could have just said, yeah, we're making the pick. Why is there so much smoke? You don't even need to do that. Like, are they getting paid from the NHL, like, to market? Like, it's crazy. So, yeah, I cannot believe we're in this space right now where we're getting Misa or Frondell. And Cam Robinson also said that it's going to be Frondell at a top three lock. So, who knows? Who knows who it's going to be, but we're getting a
Yeah.
good player.
It is really interesting, but to your point, let's say Michael Misa does wind up getting selected second overall by the San Jose Sharks. Are you all aboard on Anton Frondell going third overall to the Blackhawks? We know from what Cam Robinson had said a couple of days ago that Frondell isn't making it past the top three. Are you 100% okay with the Blackhawks taking Frondell at number three? Would that be your pick if Michael Misa is not available, Anthony?
So the Anton Frondell is going to be a lock at 3. If it was my pick, and we're not even talking about him, so it doesn't really matter. And maybe it's a surprise, but it would be Porter Martone. I've known Porter Martone for a little while now. I've gotten to watch almost every single game that he's played. This guy, I asked Chris Peters, Cam Robinson, and Stephen Ellis. This guy's skating is not bad. He's only gotten better the last 4 years. If you watched him 4 years ago, you'd be like, yeah, this guy's not making it to the AHL with his skating. Now it's like he could be an average NHL skater. You saw what he did at the Worlds. Hockey Canada loves this guy. Obviously, there's some things that go into play with Hockey Canada, and that's one of the reasons Michael Misa wasn't there. I'm not going to get into that, but there's a reason why Porter Martone got in. It's not because of anything else other than talent there. You didn't see any of these other draft picks even get picked. Obviously, we might have seen Matthew Schaefer, but he had the injury, but we're not even going to be in contention for him. So obviously, but the thing about Porter Martone is he plays really well with other really smart line mates. He is very hockey IQ oriented. It's very Carbonneau, and that's why in the queue they traded 3 first-round picks for Bill Zonin because you got to surround players with other players that think the game highly. And Martone thinks the game very highly, has an incredible shot. The playmaking and the vision is absolutely phenomenal. Probably some of the best in the class, especially for someone that's over 6'2". He's 6'3", but I'm just saying, like, for anybody that's over 6'2", him and Jake O'Brien are probably the two that have that playmaking vision. I think Porter Martone has a top 5 shot in the entire class. He should be the pick, but there's like a teardrop down. And also I'm a Haggins guy, but too
Same.
many small players.
You're preaching
So
to the choir.
I would love Haggins. I'm actually going to be posting my Haggins interview I had with him at the Combine. It was a sit down at like 6:30 today before the draft. If anybody wants to see that, obviously you're not going to be able to hear this before I post it, but um, like James Haggins is a superstar in the making, but we're not going to pick him. So, it's tough. But those two players are on different tiers.
I,
Who
I
would you
feel
pick?
the I feel the exact same way. James Higgins, I truly believe, is going to be a superstar. And I think if he had played in the OHL and wasn't a freshman in college hockey and put up like generational numbers, there would be a different narrative around him right now. And he's got the skating ability, he's got the playmaking. I do think he has a good shot as well. We just didn't see it a ton this year at Boston College. And I also really like that he's a diverse goal scorer. He's not someone who's like ripping glove high all the time. I do think that's something Connor Bedard has to work on a little bit. But James Higgins is beating goalies 5-hole, blocker low glove. Like I do think he has goal scoring upside. And then I also think he has a good motor and makes an effort in 200-foot play, even for a guy who is a little bit undersized. And just as someone who has been looking at this 2025 draft class for a year, I'm sure part of you maybe feels the same way here, Anthony. It's like, if you would have told me a year ago that, yeah, the Blackhawks, they're not going to get number one, they're not going to get number two, but you can still come away with James Higgins at number three, we
Yeah.
would have been ecstatic 9 months ago. But I agree with you. Just because we have so many undersized players in that same mold, it's not going to be James Higgins at number three. I fully know that's going to be the case. What's funny, though, is like, he is kind of the style of player Kyle Davidson likes to draft. We've just already drafted too many of them. We like
Yeah.
don't have room for them anymore. So I think everyone, for the most part, expects it to come down to the three big boys, Porter Martone, Anton Frondel, and Caleb Denye. And for me, I'm in agreement with you. I think it should be Porter Martone. I think he provides size, already well over 200 pounds at 18 years of age. He's got great hands. The skating is getting better, and he's got a good offensive makeup, both goal scoring and playmaking. And he checks that box that the Blackhawks have been missing of a guy with size and skill inside the top six. So I agree with you. If Higgins isn't really going to be in the mix like it seems at this point, I would go with Porter Martone over Anton Frondel. But at that same point in time, I do understand that Frondel's shot, I think, is probably the most elite trait that any of those three possess. And Bedard and Frondel, both of their goal scoring upside, I mean, that obviously is going to be a strong force for the Blackhawks for a long, long time. So I would understand on Anton Frondel, but personally, he wouldn't be my pick at number three.
Yeah, I absolutely love this conversation right now because like I have Haggins and Martone on a different level as, Frondel, and then I think Caleb Desnoyers, but I think it's a little smaller. I think it's a small gap, but there is a gap from Frondel to Desnoyers. Maybe Frondel could push up to that one tier, but I think that there's a clear top four in this class, and it's like Schaefer, Misa, and then Gap, and then Haggins, Front or Martone. And I feel like it's because of the skill that they have and the upside they possess. But for some reason, Haggins is like falling really far right now.
Dude, did you
Like,
see Chris Peters' mock draft from a couple days ago? He had him going ninth to Buffalo.
yeah,
I was
yeah,
nine? Buffalo would be licking their chops. That's insane.
yeah.
Yo,
And
so since we are, sorry to interrupt you, I
no, go
feel like
ahead.
we're talking on the same wavelength here. Like we're thinking the same thoughts. Do you have those six guys that we just talked about? Schaefer, Misa, Martone, Frondel, Denye, and did I say Martone? Higgins.
Yeah,
Higgins.
heck,
Those six. How do you have those six ranked personally, Anthony? I'm very curious
yeah.
to hear your thoughts on
So
this.
Schaefer, Misa, in my opinion, are one tier, but for me, it's like Schaefer then Misa, but it's like the same thing. If it was the Blackhawks, I would go Misa, Schaefer, obviously, but you can interchange on there. And then it would be Haggins, Martone, Frondel, Desnoyers. So, and then I think Jake O'Brien is near Desnoyers, honestly, but that's for a different conversation. But like Frondel to me is fifth, and it's close, but it's like also not close. He's the true power forward of those guys, and it's kind of funny. But who are yours?
Very similar. We have the same top four. I just have Denye and Frondel flipped, and
Okay.
I think they're very very close. I just think Denye maybe I'm wrong on this, might have the higher upside of the two, but I think they're very similar. But to me, it's Schaefer, Misa, Gap as the top two. You can kind of interchange them. Depends on what team is picking number one overall and what you need, in my opinion. But yeah, then I have Hagens at number 3. I have Martone at number 4. I have Denye at number 5 and Frondell at number 6. And that's not to say like I think Anton Frondell is going to be the worst of those guys. I just don't know if he has the highest ceiling out of those guys because I don't know if I trust the skating and the playmaking all that much. What are your thoughts on his skating and playmaking? I know you've touched on it already a little bit, but your overall thoughts on that part of his game.
For Desnoyers or
Or
Frondel?
Frondell, sorry if I said
Okay, yeah,
Denwyer.
yeah. No, that was on me because, well, the thing about Frondell skating is it's just transitionally. I think it could get a lot better, and once he goes to the smaller ice, it will. But it's the subtleties in his game. So when he's by the boards, you could see the quick movements he does when he's trying to get to the puck, when he's trying to hit somebody. He's very comfortable on the ice. So it's not really his skating, and his edge work is actually better than we think. But the thing is, he gets tired quickly on that larger ice. And you saw his performance actually increase when he went to the American rink sizes for the international tournaments, or not. What was it? It was I don't remember what tournament it was, but they played on smaller rink and he put up like easily more than a point per game. I think 17 or 18 points and things like that. And the thing is like his game's elevated when he's closer to the net because he's more dangerous by the net with that shot. So I feel like there's an upside play here where you're getting a 40 goal scorer. With Desnoyers, I will say on this, you were getting a guy that had bum wrists the entire season since November. He had to play wing because of it, because he couldn't take the faceoffs, but he had the best faceoff percentage in the entire class, over 60%. And when you're thinking about Desnoyers' game, he's going to be able to put up better numbers with his wrist shots with actually two good wrists. So I think that he's going to be at Selke votes, maybe like 10 or whatever it is, but he's going to be a Selke candidate, whereas Frondel's going to get 40 goals a year on the right setup if he gets an office. And it's not like an Ovi office. It's like Ovi's got the penthouse corner office. This guy could have like the third floor office where he's just, pounding every open shot that he gets because Connor Bedard's going to open up space. So I understand why. And I also like Frondel with Nazar because I feel like I'm a huge on Nazar. I feel like everybody is that you get to see him. The guy's going to be a stud. I think he's already training to be a star in my probabilities. But I had Byron Bader on, who's the creator of Hockey
Mm-hmm.
Prospecting, 86% for Frondel and the star probability for his model. That was like the highest of all time. Like it might have been higher than Bedard. So for some reason, every player I've talked to, Swedish prospect, I've had over 10, and Love Harnstam, who took 5 minutes with me to say his name right, and I think I just botched it. Uh, he said it was the best shot he's ever seen, and all of those players said that Frondel was the best player they've ever played against because you just don't want to play against him. He's tough to play against. He's heavy. You can't hit him. He's basically like Thanos out there. I have no idea what it is about him. Every time I watch him, I'm like, oh, Victor Eklund's great because he's driving play. So there's something there where like maybe Frondel was just bored and was like, I don't want to do this. You can do it. Like there's
Go ahead,
got to be
Victor.
something. Yeah,
speaking
you
of
do it.
Victor Eklund though, I love this kid. Him going like 13, 14 to me, I think personally is too far. Not to bury my lead because I'm going to unveil my top 10 rankings on my show tomorrow, but I have Victor Eklund inside my top 10. Is that crazy of me, Anthony? You would know better than I have as someone that's interviewed all of these kids. You've gotten their perspectives. You gotten to see a lot of them. What do you think about Victor Eklund? Are you as high on him as I am?
I lowered Victor Eklund on my board because I got inside information that he failed the driving test in Sweden 5 times. And so, no, I have him ninth overall in my rankings. I think that that is a fair like assessment on him. And the thing is, I feel bad ranking him only 9 because every time I watched Victor Eklund, my jaw was dropping based on he goes to the center of the ice every single time at that a 5'11", 161 frame. Then he gained 9 pounds, so he's 170 now, but that was after the season. So he bulked up after. He knows exactly what he needs to do, which is great. He's 5'11", but he plays like he's 200 pounds. It's very Brady Martin, where he's throwing the body at 187 pounds. It was 170 during the season, but he gained all that farm boy muscle. And but the thing about Victor Eklund is like this kid, like he's always skating to the front of the net, and he will stay there. And he is playing against men in the second league and also the SHL as well as the playoffs. They, if you look at like some of those SHL games, I feel like they trusted Eklund more than Frondel, and it was kind of close, but like Frondel played 30 seconds in a game. Granted, he scored in those 30 seconds. So he played 30 seconds in one game and scored. I think that's one of the reasons he grades out so well in the models. But like the ice time for Victor Eklund was pretty good. I really like this guy. He's so funny. During the combine at the media scrum, somebody asked like, does it matter what you two who goes first between you two? And then Victor Eklund was like, oh no, we love each other, blah blah blah. And then Anton Frondel paused for like 7 seconds. It was like, no, no, it doesn't matter. And then you can clearly tell it mattered. And they just started cracking up like they were just, you know, two guys sitting on a couch. You can tell that they're both not really worried about this. They're not stressed. I think they're both NHL players. They've been through it. So I think Victor Eklund should go top six. And I will say this, the dream scenario on draft night is we take Frondell. Then we see Victor Eklund is at 13, 14. We have 25. We jump up. I don't care what we have to give and get Victor Eklund so that we can close out our top six of prospects. I don't care what we need to give up. You go and grab Victor Eklund and you pair him with Anton Frundle. I've not heard anything on that, but that's what I want to happen.
Dude, this is absolute music to my ears. We are preaching to the same choir here, man. What what is there not to love about Victor Eklund other than he's not 6'1" and 190 pounds? If he was that, I think he's in the conversation for top five because he
Oh, yeah.
legitimately provides you everything out there on the ice. He's fearless at his size, gives you a lot of hustle and energy. And to your point, Anthony, he is the type of player that Kyle Davidson for sure would love to have. I mentioned on my show too, like if he somehow falls past 13 or 14, do everything in your power to go and get him because he's a gamer. There are some similarities there to Frank Nazar, in my opinion, like the way you're getting that hustle and that effort on every single play. They're not afraid to muck it up, but they also got that skill along with it. Like Victor Eklund is truly one of my favorite players in this entire draft class because he can provide everything. Like if he was 6 foot, he'd be in the top five, legitimately. Like if he had some more size to him, I love everything about his game. So yeah, if he somehow slides, that's someone I'd be interested in trading up from 25 to go get. Another player I think in that same conversation, I'm interested if you feel the same way about this guy too, is Carter Bear. I really love Carter Bear's game, and I think in a similar mold, he's another guy who can provide you with a little bit of everything. I don't know if he's going to fall far enough like Victor Eklund, but what are your thoughts on Carter Bear in this draft class?
Carter Bear was one of my favorite conversations to have this year because of what happened during our interview. So his dog started howling, and he has two dogs. He was at home. It was right after the injury, and I think I was the first media member or whatever it is. I don't know what you call me to interview him after the injury, and he was it turns out, he was skating, like he dodged a bullet. He was really upset he couldn't play in the playoffs, but he's going to be doing activity. Like if you tore your Achilles or you
Yeah.
whatever it is, you're going to be out 8 to 12 months. And like I said, like I started in nursing school, but I did not finish. I finished like a year and a half. So I'm not the medical person. I was afraid of needles. But I will say my dog's name is Bear, and he's probably going to bark right now because he's sleeping. But my dog started howling when he heard his dog's howling, and I still have no idea how because I had headphones on, but they can hear whatever it is, and they're really bad headphones. But so I had to change up my headphones actually, but whatever. So I kept saying bear stop, and he stopped, and then we just got into this moment. I was like, all right, I gotta edit this out. Uh, like it was just bad. But the thing is, I will talk Carter Bear for his game. Hard skill, he's driven, intensity. Like he learned from Brendan Gallagher. One of the players that he modeled his game after is a former Blackhawk, Brandon Hagel. He thinks that
Mm-hmm.
that's his player comp. I see him as a second line player. He put up incredible point totals this year. And I just feel like, and he was playing with Landa Dupont and Everett. And shout out Everett because they were my 12,000th subscriber. So I
Oh,
got to
hell
get him a
yeah.
Prospect On shirt. No, I don't have to get them that, but they will not receive that. But sorry, admin. I feel that, you know, this is a kid that will probably be drafted somewhere between like 11 or 16. I do not think he's going to get past the Habs, and if they do, their fans are going to riot for some reason. He's really great. This kid is so down to earth. 2 years ago, he didn't even know he was going to be in this spot. So I would really like the Blackhawks to get him somehow. Um, but if we don't, we don't. There's really no way we can. So, but he's great. I love this kid.
Maybe those Achilles scares get some
Yeah.
teams to lay off them. But before maybe we go into number 25 talks, Anthony, is there anyone from this middle range or expected to go in the middle of the first round here that, again, if they're in a similar vein, if they do wind up falling, you could see GM Kyle Davidson making a move to trade up and go and get them?
Well, one of them is actually somebody that is continuing to fall, which makes no sense to me, and that's Malcolm Spence. His over under right now on DraftKings is 24 and a half.
Yeah,
So
what?
like that doesn't even make sense to me. Like I put him at like 12 3 months ago. Obviously I have him at around like 18. I'm gonna drop my full rankings, but like the thing is like when he went to Michigan, I even dropped him, even though like I love the fit. Like Michigan's great. It's not even that. It's just there were so many players that did more after that, but he was incredible in the playoffs. This guy should potentially be a middle six player that is going to come into your lineup immediately after Michigan. He's best friends with like Michael Hage, Misa, Schaefer. He was roommates with Schaefer. They always said that after games when they won, they would play On One Tonight by Gunna, and Schaefer had no idea how to sing any of the words. He was just mumbling. Malcolm Spence and I had a great conversation where it was just a conversation. This is a guy that was like, his dad loves Michael Jordan because his name was Michael. Like, that's the kind of guy. Like, it was just really great. I feel like Malcolm Spence is there at 25 or
Oh,
even at like 19. I think the Blackhawks are going to trade up for him. I have no idea why he would even be in this range. I'm hearing like I think Colin Potter might fall too. His over under is like 29 and a half. If we could somehow get him at 34, I would cry. Colin Potter is one of the best skaters in the entire class. A lot of the guys I would have traded up for are falling. Like, um, I could see Sasha Bomidian being a target for them if they want to trade up. He was one of the players that I heard over and over. Victor Klingsell said it. Some of the other Swedish prospects, Milton Gastrin mentioned, like this guy is so hard to play with or to play against. When you're playing him, you just want the game over. That's what Victor Klingsell said. He's like, he was all over me. He was a mosquito, and for some reason, for some reason, I'm hearing a lot that the Blackhawks are interested in Boumediene. I don't see it. He's left-handed. It doesn't really
yeah.
make much sense. Um, but like Brooke from the Hockey Writers, she said that Mark, the Hockey Writers person who does the credentials and is tied up, we met at the combine. He um he said the Blackhawks are very interested in this guy. I don't see that necessarily. I think that's probably more smoke, but like I would trade up for players I would trade up for like Lyndon Lakovich, 6'4". He's more soft skill than anything. I always say he's like a 5'10" forward that just happens to be 6'4". When he first came into the dub, he was just trying to dangle through multiple defenders, didn't know how to play that full 200-foot game. I asked him like after his career, what would you want to be? He said GM. He told me that he would like trade this play, like one of the core four, get assets, blah, 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 like do all of this stuff. He's like all hockey. And then he also told me something like I didn't need to know. I was like, what is one thing, you get chirped for, or the funniest chirp you've ever heard, or one thing your teammates know about you that fans probably don't? It was the same answer for both questions, and it was that he has hairy legs. So he gets chirped for that all the time. This is like Lyndon Lakovich is a star in my opinion just because of the way he talks. Like he knows he's legit. Moose Jaw won the championship like last year, then this year they had a really bad year. So we shall see if he's still on Moose Jaw at the end of the season. But also Carbonell has the best shot in the entire draft. This guy can shoot from anywhere. And my people are telling me around me that he's going to take the Ryan Leonard role at Boston, even though they just traded for Bill Zahn and his team. So either way, he's going to be fine. But him next to James Haggins would absolutely be phenomenal. If he's with James Haggins is putting up 50 points next season, and he's putting up 25 goals. So also Brandon Coots is the last one. This guy goes to Chipotle every day. That's consistency right there. Like he wears his gold medal around once in a while. But yeah, I like this guy. I like Boots.
What a dude. What a dude. If Malcolm Spence makes it to 25, I might shed a tear, man. That would be
Yeah, me
absolutely
too.
incredible. I cleanly have him inside my top 16. I don't really understand what there really isn't to like about him. He had like a mouth injury or something during the postseason. That was him, correct? And do you know anything about that? Or maybe I'm just spitting BS, but
I think you're right, but the thing is like um I cannot remember what the injury was, but it didn't hurt him at all in his play. And at the combine, there was like no injury or no questions around that. The only thing I will say about Malcolm Spence at the combine was that he told everybody that, or he was roommates with Misa, but he basically was like saying like, "Hey, Sharks, Misa wants to go there," and no one batted an eye. It wasn't like, oh, he's trying to recruit. But now in my head, to go back to that one thing we were talking about at the beginning, number three, I think he was recruiting for his man because he would have known. Misa would have been talking to him about like, hey, I don't know if I'm going to go here. He would have been the first one to know. So Spence would have been like, okay, bet. Like, let me say this. I feel that there's something there. Obviously, it could just be, you know, hot smoke, but why would there need to be smoke? That's all I'm going to say. Whatever it is. But it like getting Misa and Spence, who are two best friends, I think would be the ultimate thing. Like that's like if the Blackhawks would have drafted like Andrew Christel, who I was crying we didn't because he was so great when we drafted Adam Guyan 35, and I like Adam Guyan. He's great friends with Martin Misiak, but you don't get Martin Misiak's friend. You get Connor Bedard a friend. He was already sad. Like you had to give him. He got drafted and he looked sad. Like it's just his demeanor. But go get him either Nate Danielson or at Matt
oh,
Barzell or
I
you
loved
know
Nate Danielson. Loved Nate
me too. Like
Danielson.
I really wanted Nate Danielson to, or I wanted the Blackhawks to trade for Nate Danielson, but then we got Oliver Moore at 19, so I was excited because Oliver Moore was like top
Yeah.
eight ranked in my rankings. I think Nate Danielson was nine, so they were neck and neck, but I liked Oliver Moore skating, but that's for a different conversation. But getting Malcolm Spence and Misa would absolutely be incredible. They're two great friends. I think that really helps them out. And Misa could potentially go to the NHL immediately. And I think if Spence gets there, he would need like a couple games in the AHL, then comes up and then could potentially be on Misa's line. So, and Misa's best friends, like one of his best friends is Nick Lardis. So just imagine Nick Lardis, Misa, and Spence. Like that's an incredible second line.
Oh my God, all the boys together too. They'd be on
Yeah.
cloud nine. I absolutely would love that. Yeah, Malcolm Spence at 25. That would be a great, great dream. I just pulled up because I had it in my notes. My 2023 NHL draft rankings, Anthony. And here we are. I had Nate Danielson ranked number 11, and I had Oliver Moore ranked number 9. And I remember, like, I didn't even really cover Oliver Moore all that much on my show leading up to the
Yeah.
2023 draft because I didn't think there was any way whatsoever. Like, I spent so much more time on everyone in the teens, and then, of course, it winds up being Oliver Moore. That 2023 draft was something to behold.
Loaded. Yeah, loaded.
Loaded.
In the top 45. Even
Dude.
67 was Nick Lardis, but that was an absolute steal. Like we shouldn't have. I was actually sad that we traded the LA pick. I think it was like 55 or something, 52 or whatever it was, because one of the picks was Misa. I mean, Martin Misiak and
Yeah.
Misiak. It's a sign, but Lardis was still on the board, and I was like, "What are you doing?" Like I told my mom, like, "What are they doing?" I'm like, "I don't even know who these people are."
Right.
But so my whole family had to watch the Bedard draft. Everybody. I wasn't even like covering yet or anything like that. I was like tweeting, but nobody knew who I was. So I was literally like, "We need Nick Lardis," like blah blah blah. But thing about it is, those guys are all friends. I think the connections, just the chemistry, you being able to skate with them in the off season, it's just so much easier. Um, we could take goalie too, but I want Spence. Spence is my favorite player in that range, other than Vaslav Nestrasil. So we'll talk about him in a second, but
Yeah.
I like those guys. I
Yeah,
like those
Malcolm
guys.
Malcolm Spence is the guy for me at 25 as well. The Blackhawks obviously should have got a ton of good looks at him this year with Misiak there, Ty Henry,
Yep.
of course. They had to have been scouting Matthew Schaefer when he was healthy as well. So, yeah, if he makes it to 25, Two thumbs up from me. Vaclav Nestrasil, 34, I think is good value. 25, I was thinking was a little bit high for him to go. 34, I'd be on board for.
I think I've tweeted enough like Vasilov to 25 that I've talked myself into this because Vasilov Nestrasil at 6'6" with his upside playing in Muskegon last year, he had 0 points in 8 games, and then this year he absolutely exploded on a championship team where Ivan Ryabkin came in, was a point per game player, and no one seems to care. Uh, but everyone's talking about Vasilov, even though
Right.
Ivan Ryabkin went to the USHL and absolutely kind of dominated, even though he doesn't even like talk to anybody. He just goes in, goes to the games, plays hockey, and leaves. Like there's no off like people are saying that he has character concerns, but it's like he doesn't know anybody here. So, um, the thing with Vasilov is four brothers. One got drafted into the third round of the NHL draft. His name's Andre in like 2013, somewhere around there. He's the youngest brother, so he's kind of have that like bred into him. I think that this guy could be a potential star. When I say that, it's like 33%. So it's like you have 67% that you're not a star, but I feel that his makeup is what we need. Big,
Yeah.
huge upside. Just we have so many picks, just take them. I don't care where it is, if it's 25, if it's 34. If it's three, I'm literally walking out of the draft. But like but anywhere else, I don't care where it is. Even if you trade up, because I've I hope I didn't, spill the beans here, but Vasilov Nestrasil's, age or his team, not agent, they contacted me and they were like, Vasilov went to the combine and met with the Blackhawks. They've already seen him and got they had meetings with him and during the season. So there's and they also said there's serious interest. And I was like, hey, that's awesome. Like, can I post this? And they were like, yeah, sure, we don't care. And then I got sent like his like dad sent me a video with 4 views on like Vimeo or whatever the platform is. He's like, you have to watch this. It's going viral. I'm like, it has 4 views. This is 3 a.m., sir. I'm like, and then I saw Vasilov walking into the Harbor Center on the seventh floor, which is where the NHL Combine is. And, the waters were flowing. I had like 3 waters down. No one was drinking. Everyone was just drinking waters. And I see this guy come up, and he literally looks like he's 7 feet tall. Like I was shocked. Like it was crazy. This guy is truly probably what 6'9" on ice with ice skates on. So like there's so much upside there, and he's so skilled. He gained an inch during the combine, and I think he's still growing. So yeah, I could see him going anywhere from like 19 to 34 in this. I'm stopping him at 34 because if he's there, I think the Blackhawks have to take him or else we riot. Not actually, please don't do that. But yeah, I think that would be the great fit.
And at the end of the day, what I will say too is when you're this far in the draft and you want to go and get your guy, go and get your guy. The Blackhawks certainly have the draft capital to do it. And I'm not going to like be upset about them taking him at 25 over 34 regardless, but definitely is someone who like you mentioned, would fit the bill for what the Blackhawks need. 6'6", and like you said, maybe still growing. So who knows what he's going to be when he reaches the NHL. But I love that he's got an late April birthday too. So on the younger side of this year's draft class, and Muskegon, the Sasha Boisvert connection there. Can't go wrong with
Yeah.
hopefully two guys that'll be scoring maybe some big goals for the Blackhawks down the road. So yeah, Nestrasil, all the rumors around him and the Blackhawks being interested makes a lot of sense for many different reasons, right?
Yeah, and he's going to UMass next season, which is going to be a huge jump, but he has the size. I think if he dominates that there's going to be a redraft where this guy could be in the top 15, top 16. So there's a really good shot that this guy does explode onto the scene next year at UMass. It's going to be a program that's going to build around him as well. They don't really have a lot of star recruits there, so I feel like it's a really good slot. If he was going to like Michigan or BU, I would kind of be a little worried because I don't want him playing like a third line checking role or
Yeah.
a fourth line or whatever it is. So I want him to be the guy there. So I'm excited to watch him at BU or UMass. Sorry, yeah,
Let's get Misa at 3. Let's get Spence at 25, and let's get Nestor still up at
yeah,
34, and just
that's
absolutely have
perfect.
ourselves a 2025 NHL draft.
That was my tweet yesterday. I was like, if I want 5 players, this is my dream. Misa, Spence, Vasilov, and then I had Jacob Rombach at 62, and then 65 was Prokhorov. And, you know, I got asked about it today on like a show I went on, and they were like, "What do you think about this?" It was Colton from the Daily Faceoff, so it was a great show. He always has incredible guests, but he was like, "Yeah, that could actually happen. Like it could actually happen. It's not out of the realm." I think Misa's the hardest one to get though,
Yeah,
but
for sure.
yeah, I don't want to keep you for all this time. I want to touch on a little bit of the, off season. Who do you want for the free agency? And is there a specific trade target you think? And also, do you think that there's a potential that the Blackhawks get Marner? I know that that's kind of the talk of the town, like he's going to Vegas, but do you think the Blackhawks are going to try to get him?
Yeah, lots to break down here. I don't think the Blackhawks are going to be pursuing him very actively. I imagine, they've been in the talks with his camp just to see what, the offer would look like, or if they were to give him a legitimate offer, would he truly consider coming here to Chicago? Just from what we've heard from, Scott Powers, who does such a phenomenal job on the beat, and multiple different rumors, it doesn't really seem like the Blackhawks are gearing up to make that type of run here this summer. And it kind of sounds like they might not be doing all that much altogether, which I get. I don't necessarily love. For me personally, I like bringing back Donato. That makes a lot of sense. The contract
Yeah.
is absolutely awesome too. Like that's easy money to spend on a guy like Ryan Donato who can give you a little bit of everything out there. I liked the buy low spot on Burakovsky. I mean, yeah, he struggled in Seattle, but it cost Joe frickin' Veleno, who was not going to be a part of the future of the franchise here. But I still think they need more help on that top line for Connor Bedard. And this is year 3, right? You want to see him take that big leap and become one of the more prominent players in the NHL. And yeah, he's had a good first couple of seasons, but I don't think any of us would say he's absolutely knocked it out of the park, grand slam, walk-off home run type of thing. I love how he's developing, but I think to get him to that next step, you need to bring some more talent around him. And Teuvo Teravainen and Bertuzzi and Donato and Burakovsky, none of them are really enough needle movers to me that get me truly excited about the Blackhawks top line for next year. So I would like to see them make one more ad inside of the top 6. Again, I don't expect that to be Mitch Marner. And I know this is kind of a polarizing opinion between Marner, but for his age and what he'd probably command and just where the Blackhawks are at right now, I don't think it really makes a ton of sense to go and give him that money. But I would like someone like Brock Besser, who's not going to, break the bank for you. You have all this financial freedom to go and give him a multi-year contract, and he is going to be an improvement upon what the Blackhawks have had these last couple of years. So that's really the one thing I want to see them go and do this free agency, Anthony. But again, from just kind of the rumors we're hearing, doesn't sound like the Blackhawks are expected to do all that much when the market opens on July 1st. What are you thinking ahead of free agency?
Yeah, I really liked the Donato pickup. Just that contract was awesome. I think that you should definitely just have given him whatever you wanted. I thought it was going to be more of like a $5 million deal. So that extra 4 years actually, or that year actually helps the Blackhawks because one, like the salary cap is going to continue to rise. So if he
Yeah.
actually did fix his performance with that skating issue, which Jay said that he worked on that the all of 2023 offseason. So obviously, I think that there's some potential there with Donato that he's actually legit for the next couple of years. I think he would have got a lot more and or especially he could have got that deal on a contender. So he could have got paid while also winning. I think that's also a good point. He definitely wants to win. He's a Harvard man, so he's smart. So he made the right decision. They're going to give him the best role they can in power play time. He'd probably be more of a third line player on another team. But Burakovsky, I really like. That was a great deal. Veleno didn't have any business being on our roster. So getting him as well as like adding $2 million to the salary cap floor, it really does help. I like that Marner has a idea of taking a 2 to 3 year deal where you're getting him on like a $15 million contract. Dude, I'd bump it up to 16 million. If he wants it and he's like, hey, 2 years, 16 million, I'm doing that. Because like, why not? The salary cap's going up anyway, and it doesn't matter. You're just getting a guy to help out Bedard anyway, and you're telling him, hey, you're probably not going to win here, but after the back end of the second year, we'll trade you to a contender, we'll retain half, and it'll only be, you know, that 8 million and then whatever's left, so maybe like $4 or $5 million, someone has to take. And with LTIR and all of this stuff, it's probably be easy to absorb that. You get like a second round pick for him. So I heard a lot of people say that the Blackhawks offered number 3 overall for JJ Peterka, and if that happened, I would have been really upset because like the Blackhawks, first of all, the Sabres shouldn't have done like said no to that because if you want a player, you could just ship them off with the 3rd overall pick. So Bowen Byram at the 3rd overall pick, you could get a way better player because everybody overvalues draft picks during the draft season. So JJ Peterka is not worth the 3rd overall pick for the Blackhawks. If you were the Canes, obviously yes, but there is no reason to make a trade where you're giving up the 3rd overall pick. I thought it was going to be JJ Peterka at 9 for 3 and, Lucas Reichel 34, whatever it is. But it should not have been where we just completely traded out. What does JJ Peterka do for the Blackhawks? He does not put us in any sort of contention at all. Maybe we're the 10th best team in the Tankathon rankings instead of number 3 or 2, but why would we do it this year when Gavin McKenna race is also there too? Like
Yeah.
it doesn't make sense. And if you're looking at getting the JJ Peterka because you want to help out Bedard, then go give Marner whatever he wants. You tried to do it with Gensel. He was 30 and he already had all those injuries. And Marner's better defensively, which a lot of people don't talk about. He was 7th in Selke voting for a winger. That is unheard of. So usually it's only centers. That's a center dominated. That's like a corner winning MVP or getting like 7th place MVP votes in the NFL. Like it's a quarterback award. So I feel that this offseason is going to be a lot quieter because we can't get a Jason Robertson. Our prospects aren't developed enough for there's going to be roster players. In 2026, we need to target like multiple players, but one of them is Kirill Kaprizov. If he's in any way available, as well as the Brady Tkachuk situation is only going to get worse, the Quinn Hughes situation, which doesn't help us, but with Quinn Hughes being available, it's going to allow the Blackhawks to try to focus more on forwards, and everybody is looking at left defensemen. So we're not going to go out and get Quinn Hughes, but it could open the doors of who's available. So if somebody's like, hey, we'll give you this guy for Quinn Hughes, they're going to hear, oh, he's available. Let me go. Because like Luka Doncic, no one knew he was available. And as soon as he became available and he got traded, everyone was like, he was available. I would have given 4 first-round picks or whatever it is. So the Blackhawks just need an opening for players in that range of under 24 to under 25 range to be available. When Jason Robertson was available, it lit up an alarms in organizations. So we just need that one player that no one's realizing is going to be free to get freed. Like Matt Nyes, I thought was going to be a perfect fit for the Blackhawks. He ends up going to be like 2 first-round picks max. Then you got to pay him 9 million. So cross him off the list. I would rather trade for a superstar than anybody that's going to cost a lot anyway. So, but JJ Peterka in my mind's not a superstar. So I would rather stay pat and just continue to develop this year, see what you have in some of these other guys. Don't use that roster spot and just see what happens. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely fair. And we definitely still need to fully comprehend what the Blackhawks possess, right? Yeah, we have a lot of promising young players, but we're still not 100% positive what we have right now. And we want to give those guys the opportunity to let us know what they are this season. So I understand the idea of staying pat, which again sounds likely what's going to happen come free agency. To retouch on the Mitch Marner thing, if he's willing to sign a short-term deal here, if he would be willing to do that, which is the part of the equation that I question a little bit, if he's willing to sign a 2-year deal, throw him whatever he wants. It's just, does he want to come to a non-contending team for a couple of years when he's been in the Stanley Cup playoffs so consistently and not gotten over that hurdle, right? I'm sure he's itching to get over that jump and likely wants to go to a contender who will give him that opportunity. But the Mitch Marner conversation in general is going to be fascinating to see if it winds up going to Vegas or what necessarily transpires there. JJ Peterka for the number 3 overall pick would have been, why didn't Buffalo do that?
Yeah. I don't understand that.
That makes no sense from the Blackhawks perspective really either, because just that straight up 3 for JJ Peterka, you have the opportunity 3 to draft a player who's going to have a higher ceiling, I believe, than JJ Peterka with this
Yeah,
opportunity. And
yeah.
Peterka's going to cost you the money right here, right now, right? So, yeah, a little bit of an interesting situation there with Peterka. I knew it was going to be easier said than done for the Blackhawks to make that move transpire anyway. But at this point of the summer, Anthony, I really don't think after the NHL draft goes down, I'm not expecting a whole lot of craziness around the Blackhawks. I think the NHL draft is really where we're going to get our noise. We're going to get our excitement on Friday and Saturday. And then I'm not necessarily expecting any major moves to come when free agent market opens on Tuesday.
Yeah, I'm still shocked about the Sabres not taking the third overall pick. But yeah, I feel like it's going to be more quiet. Maybe we sign a couple guys. Maybe it's a free agent splash. But I'm really hoping that I don't wake up to a tweet that says Blackhawks have traded the third overall pick unless it's for number two. We have a really good opportunity here to just get younger, see what we have. It's like a mystery box, just hope it's a boat and don't trade for a guy that you have to pay next year. That's not going to really help us. I mean, obviously JJ Peterka would help us, but it's like, yeah, you don't trade the number three overall pick. You trade a package of like late second rounders or first rounders. But yeah, is there anything else that you want to talk about?
I think we just hit it an hour hard of fantastic
Yeah.
conversation. That's basically everything. I mean, oh, we'll go one final question and let's get on out of here. Do you think Lucas Reichel gets traded this summer?
That's a really good question. I think I'm going to say no because the noise was louder last year. He might have lost a lot of value. They might want to recoup the value and see what this coaching staff does with him, as well as Andre Sorensen is going to be allowed to, or he's going to be able to not just focus on trying to get wins, which is a Mission Impossible movie for, you know, this squad, because he was obviously, fighting for his job security. But now that he's the assistant, he's going to be able to be like, hey, I'm going to help you guys out. I hope the D still continues to offensively pinch, but I think him and Korchinski, which I'll name Korchinski just for, you know, because I feel like he is on the hot seat in a year or two. I think both of them are going to have another offseason of training, and then they're going to rediscuss what the values are. But if they get a great player at a great value, if you could get like a top 40 pick for Lucas Reichel, you do it, but you're not going to.
Yeah, that's kind of what it seems at this point in time. Like, I think even Scott Powers mentioned in an article that he dropped yesterday or today, no one's really kicking the tires all that much on Lucas Reichel. So I think at that point, with his value being so low and Jeff Blashill coming in as a new head coach, you just kind of hope that Lucas finds something here this year and is able to get it going a little bit. But at the same point in time, I just feel like given the roster makeup right here, right now, it just really looks like Lucas is going to be on the third or fourth line again to start next year. And
Yeah.
I just don't really see that going well. So it's like at the same point in time, it's like we're just kind of letting the carousel spin round and round here. But who knows? Maybe he looks like a different man next year. But I'm in agreement with you. I think the only way it would happen this summer is if they got a deal they couldn't say no to. And that's very likely not happening.
Yeah, but let's close it out. This was awesome, and we got the draft coming up soon. So, like a Hot Ones video, there's cameras here, here, and here. Tell everybody what you got working on too. And yeah, I just appreciate you coming on and
Oh, dude,
collabing.
thank you so much for having me. That was an awesome hour-long chat, and I would love to do it again with you in sometime in the near future after the NHL draft goes down, though, and a couple months go by or something. I know you're going to need your rest after how much you've been grinding these last few months, but again, thank you so much for having me on. Really enjoyed talking Blackhawks hockey with you. For anyone who's watching on your side of things and wants to go and check me out, you can find me on X, my personal at Jack Bushman 2, but check out my Strictly Blackhawks account at Talkin' Hockey, and then follow the Locked On Blackhawks podcast for free on YouTube and wherever you may be listening to your podcasts. I'll be pumping out draft content, free agent content, lots of stuff coming out as it's set to be a chaotic next couple of weeks. But Anthony, again, thank you so much for having me on the show. And I do want to be uploading this on my side of things too. So for anyone who happens to be listening to this when I upload it on Locked On Blackhawks, please plug yourself as well, because you do incredible draft work, man. It's been so cool to see all of your content grow and whatnot. And I'm super excited that you're hitting the NHL draft this week, my friend.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's been an absolute whirlwind. I started posting on X 5 days before the trade deadline, which everyone's gonna be like, "Wow, that's crazy." But It was Roger McQueen told like broke news that he was coming back, so I was like, okay, I have to tweet this out. But yeah, it's been crazy. I do editorial managing and social media for Draft Pros. I get to go to the combine draft and all that stuff. Hopefully the dev camp for the Blackhawks, but who knows? I think that I'm TikTok, YouTube, and Twitter is all at the Prospect On. So you could go check me out over there. I have no idea how TikTok works, but I went from like 5 followers to 400 like 2, 3 weeks ago. So that was pretty cool. It's a wild, wild application. That app is crazy. But yeah, you can follow me over there. And yeah, definitely follow Jack everywhere too, because this guy's awesome. But yeah, thanks for having me on. This was sweet too. But yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. What a chat, man. Looking forward to doing it again soon.
For sure, for sure. Peace, guys.